8 reasons why I stopped doing barbell bench press and why you should too. The barbell bench press is one of the oldest known exercises, and for that reason alone, it has always been considered the #1 for chest hypertrophy. Perhaps the most interesting factor is that it works the chest, shoulders, and triceps simultaneously. All these muscles being worked in a single exercise is excellent, especially for those who have little time to train and want to optimize the work of multiple muscles with just one movement. Because of these benefits, it has also become one of the most studied exercises. As science has advanced and new studies have emerged, our eyes have been opened to some very important points about this movement. That's why, in this video, you'll see the 8 reasons why you should stop doing the flat barbell bench press once and for all. Stay tuned until the end, because reason number 5 is the most important. Reason number 1, it's inferior to the incline bench press. We absolutely have to start our list of reasons for you to stop doing the flat barbell bench press with this one. Now, you might be thinking something like, but the incline bench press activates the upper chest more, while the flat bench press focuses more on the medial part of the chest. There's no comparison. It's true that the incline bench press has a clear advantage in more effectively activating the upper chest, which is often the area that needs the most stimulus for complete and aesthetically balanced development. After all, you don't want your collarbone sticking out all the time, right? But what you might not know is that the incline bench press also activates the medial and lower portions of the chest in a similar way to the flat bench press, providing the same overall benefit to those areas. In other words, the incline bench press can stimulate all regions of the chest while also offering superior activation in the upper portion, something the flat barbell bench press just can't match. To illustrate this difference in activation between the two exercises, a study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Science analyzed chest hypertrophy in participants who performed only flat barbell bench press or only incline bench press over a 12-week period, with an identical training protocol for both groups. The study found that the group performing the incline bench press saw an 18% increase in upper chest thickness, while the flat bench press group only achieved a 10% increase in the same area. In the medial chest, the incline bench press group experienced a 12% growth, very close to the 13% observed in the flat bench press group, indicating nearly identical activation for that region in both exercises. For the lower chest, the incline bench press led to a 10% increase in thickness, compared to 12% for the flat bench press, again showing an insignificant difference. So, why would you keep doing the flat bench press if the incline bench press does the same thing, but better? Reason number 2, increased risk of shoulder injury. The flat barbell bench press is an exercise that places significant stress on the shoulders due to its fixed position and limited range of motion. This rigid shoulder positioning, where the arms lack the freedom to adjust to their natural angle, increases tension on the joints and tendons, especially the rotator cuff, one of the areas most susceptible to injury. The internal shoulder rotation required during the exercise causes the bar's weight to create additional strain on the joints, particularly when using heavy loads, which heightens the risk of wear and tear. This happens because the body is forced into a specific position that doesn't always respect the biomechanical individuality of each person, making the movement less natural and more likely to put the shoulders in a vulnerable position. Over time, this type of repetitive stress on the shoulders can lead to chronic injuries, such as tendinitis and bursitis, which develop from small tissue tears over time and can progress into more serious problems, like rotator cuff injuries. The wear on connective tissues in the shoulders not only reduces the efficiency of performing the barbell bench press, but also compromises a range of other exercises that rely on the integrity of the shoulder joint, such as the military press and deadlift. It's important to remember that a shoulder injury can have a devastating impact, not just on workout performance, but also on daily life. The shoulder is an essential joint for nearly all arm movements, and any impairment in this area can make simple tasks difficult, such as lifting objects, reaching for something, or even performing rotational movements during household chores or work activities. Reason number 3, decreased chest activation. Studies comparing muscle activation in different bench press variations indicate that using dumbbells promotes greater activation of chest fibers, primarily because they allow for a more natural and efficient arm movement throughout the exercise. In the barbell bench press, the arms are locked in a fixed plane, which limits the range of motion and prevents the chest from fully stretching and contracting. This pattern reduces the direct workload on the chest and can end up shifting more of the load to the shoulders and triceps, especially during the upward phase, when the effort should primarily target the chest. By using dumbbells, each arm can move independently, allowing for a deeper stretch at the end of the negative phase and a more intense contraction at the top of the movement. This freedom of adjustment increases the recruitment of chest muscle fibers, making the exercise more effective for hypertrophy. Additionally, using dumbbells or adjusting the bench incline activates the stabilizer muscles, contributing to a more complete engagement of the chest. These stabilizers help control the dumbbells and ensure the load is directed toward the chest fibers, improving the mind-muscle connection and providing a more intense stimulus. Reason number 4. Limited range of motion. You've probably seen that guy at your gym who loads up machines with weights but performs exercises with terrible range of motion. The truth is, someone training with less weight but executing a proper range of motion will achieve better stimulation and, therefore, better hypertrophy results. Range of motion is a crucial factor in the effectiveness of weightlifting exercises. In the flat barbell bench press, the movement depth is limited by the point where the bar touches the chest, restricting the full extension of the chest muscles. This limitation prevents the chest from being worked through its full range, which can compromise the stimulus needed for optimal muscle growth. In contrast, the dumbbell bench press offers greater freedom of movement. Without the restriction of the bar, dumbbells allow the arms to drop below chest level, providing a deeper stretch of the chest muscles. This increased range of motion results in a more complete contraction during the concentric phase of the exercise, enhancing muscle fiber activation and delivering a more effective stimulus for hypertrophy. Proof of this comes from a study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, which compared the effects of the barbell bench press and dumbbell bench press on muscle hypertrophy. Participants were divided into two groups. One performed the flat barbell bench press, and the other performed the dumbbell bench press, both following identical training protocols over a 12-week period. By the end of the study, the group training with dumbbells showed an average 12% increase in chest muscle thickness, while the barbell group achieved only an 8% increase. Reason number 5. Strain on elbows and wrists. Many weightlifters associate the risk of injury in the flat barbell bench press solely with the shoulders, believing that this joint is the only one bearing the brunt of the impact. However, the elbows and wrists are also extremely susceptible to injuries, especially when heavy loads are used. When lifting the weight, the bar forces these joints to endure intense and continuous pressure, particularly at the top of the movement, where the load is concentrated directly on the wrists and elbows. This fixed pressure on the wrists is particularly problematic because holding the bar locks the joint in a position that doesn't always feel natural. This rigidity prevents the lifter from adjusting the angle to suit their comfort, placing the wrist at an unnatural angle. When lifting heavy loads, this fixed position leads to overloading, which can cause inflammation, such as wrist tendinitis, and in more severe cases, stress fractures, especially in individuals who already have weaker joints. For the elbows, the problem is just as concerning. During the flat barbell bench press, the elbows are constantly engaged in an extension movement that supports much of the load, with little room for variation or adaptation throughout the exercise. With consistent use of heavy weights, this forced extension can overload the tendons and ligaments in the elbows, leading to persistent pain and even more serious injuries, such as lateral epicondylitis, commonly known as tennis elbow. This condition is often associated with activities involving repetitive arm and forearm strain, and the flat barbell bench press, with its restricted movement, directly contributes to this type of issue. Reason number 6. Difficulty in progressing the load. You've probably heard that progressive overload is basically the #1 principle for consistent hypertrophy, right? However, increasing the load in the flat barbell bench press poses a significant challenge, especially due to the heightened risk of accidents when trying to work with heavier weights. In the flat bench press, the bar follows a fixed and restricted trajectory, which causes overload at certain points, particularly during maximum effort. This type of movement, where the arms and chest have little freedom to adjust, requires intense control and stability, something that becomes especially risky when increasing the weight. As you try to lift heavier, the risk of muscle failure increases, and if that happens, particularly during the final phase of the lift, you could get stuck under the bar. This is a dangerous situation, especially if you're training without a spotter. Not having a friend or personal trainer nearby during your workout makes the problem worse, as you might not have assistance in a critical moment, increasing the chances of accidents and serious injuries, such as chest tears, shoulder injuries, or even wrist damage. This vulnerability makes it harder to safely progress the load, as you need to account not only for the effort of the exercise, but also for ensuring your own safety, which can limit how heavy you're able to train. Reason number 7. Greater focus on the triceps than the chest. The flat barbell bench press is often seen as a primary exercise for working the chest, but it frequently ends up placing greater emphasis on the triceps than on the pecs. This issue arises due to the fixed angle, which positions the triceps for greater activation, especially during the final phase of the lift, when the chest naturally loses some of its ability to generate force. For the chest to be properly engaged, the movement must have a full range of motion, lowering the weight until the chest muscles are truly stretched and engaged during the lift. However, many lifters, especially beginners, struggle to rely solely on their chest to drive the movement, and unintentionally shift the workload to their triceps as they try to lift the bar. This is even more apparent in people who perform partial reps, lifting the bar high but barely lowering it, which effectively eliminates the phase where the chest is most engaged, leaving the heavy lifting to the triceps. This tendency is further exacerbated when the lifter doesn't have a well-developed mind-muscle connection and can't feel their chest working properly. In this case, the triceps take on most of the load, turning what should be a chest-focused exercise into more of an arm workout. This over-reliance on the triceps can also be counterproductive, as smaller muscles end up bearing a disproportionate load. This leads to less balanced training and a muscle development pattern that favors the arms over the chest. Reason number 8. Asymmetrical load distribution. In the flat barbell bench press, the arms are locked in position, moving in sync without the freedom to make individual adjustments. This limitation prevents each arm from working according to its own strength and stability, which is a particularly significant issue if there's any pre-existing imbalance between the sides of the body. As a result, the stronger side tends to compensate for the weaker side, taking on a greater load and leaving the weaker side increasingly underactivated. This compensation mechanism creates a vicious cycle where the dominant side grows even stronger, while the weaker side becomes more reliant. Over time, this asymmetrical load distribution can lead to noticeable muscle imbalances, which not only compromise the body's aesthetic symmetry, but also impact posture and the execution of other exercises. This uneven development can become visibly apparent, with the dominant side displaying greater size and definition, while the weaker side appears underdeveloped. Now I have something very important to tell you. Even if, after this video, you stop doing the flat barbell bench press and switch to more effective chest exercises. Unfortunately, if your testosterone levels are low, your muscle gains will be minimal. And to make things worse, did you know that 77% of men over 40 still engage in the same habits that lead to increasingly lower testosterone levels? If you want to learn what these habits are, so you can avoid them and maintain high testosterone levels, I'm going to leave that video popping up on your screen right now. Don't miss it, and may God bless you, my friend.